Aren't things so much tastier when they come out of a really cute tumbler? Actually, I'm just fooling you. There's nothing in this tumbler. But I did make this last night, and I want to show you the video. This is the second tumbler I've ever made, the first video I've done. I know I waited way too long to do it, but I was a little intimidated by the process. So if you haven't started tumblers yet and you want to learn how, then keep watching the video. Now, I'm going to put a lot of Amazon links to things that I used to make this, and thank you so much if you can use those. There's no extra cost to you, but it does help fund my channel. What I'm not going to do is link to my oven. You're going to see later in the video that my oven had a really hard time at keeping a high temperature. Now, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Let me show you what I'm going to use for my sublimation tumbler. Now, I got this set of 4 tumblers. They're the skinny straight tumblers, 20 ounce, off of Amazon. In addition to the 4 sublimation tumblers, you get 4 stainless steel straws with the cleaning brush, and you get 4 pieces of shrink wrap. Now, I'm not going to use the shrink wrap. I'm going to use a tape method today. Then for my image, I'm going to use this image that I got off of Creative Fabrica. Now, I use this for a peekaboo shirt video that I did a while back. I just love this picture. So I'm going to set this aside for now. When it's time to wrap my cup, I'll tell you a little bit more about the dimensions and how it's cut. So in the box, you get the tumbler, and then inside the tumbler is the little thing that goes on the bottom after you've sublimated it. You want to wait and put this on afterwards because this would melt in your convection oven. Now when it comes time to wrapping it, I'm going to use some heat resistant tape and some blue painter's tape. This is Scotch brand. But before I do that, I want to clean my tumbler. So I'm going to go ahead and put my hand in my tumbler, spray a little bit of alcohol on a paper towel, and then just clean it off really well. You don't want anything between your image and the tumbler, any oil or grease. And then I'm going to dry it with another paper towel. So while I give that a minute or two to dry, let me show you my image again and talk about it. Now for these tumblers, the dimension of the actual image is 8.15 inches tall and 9.5 inches wide. Now I made sure that there was no white space on the bottom and no white space on one side. So I'm going to go ahead and get a piece of tape ready. Now I know with this standing up you can't see it so well, so let me explain to you what I'm doing. I have the bottom of my image flat on my table. That way I can make sure that the image is straight and it's flush on the bottom. Then what I'm going to do is have the side that has absolutely no white on it. That's going to be down on the cup. Then I'm going to push the other side over the top of that side. And that's why it doesn't matter if there's a little bit of white on this side. Okay, so it looks even on the top and on the bottom. So I'm pulling this together just as tightly as I can. And I'm just going to start with one piece of tape. Okay, now that I have it started and it's flush on the bottom, I can lay it down. It's a little easier to work with. It's a little easier to work with when it's laid down. So I'm going to go to the bottom, hold the piece that's against the cup tight, and then just really pull the other side around. Then I'll put a second piece of tape down toward the bottom. Then one more time at the top, holding the bottom side or the bottom layer down, and then really pulling around to make sure there's no excess room. I'll put one last piece of tape on the top. Now what I'm going to do is just put some heat resistant tape up the seam of the cup. And what I want to do is get it on the top piece first. Then before I adhere it down, I'm going to really pull on that top piece so that I know it's really tight. So now it's time to get the top and the bottom tightened down. Now I'm going to use something I saw on Crystal's Diversa Creations. What she did is, I'll go ahead and lay this down so you can see it a little better. She took her heat tape and she stretched it as hard as she could. Then she laid it down. Then when you let go of it, and it has a little bit of a rebound effect, it wants to pull in. So it is working to pull the paper in. Then I'll go ahead and just fold that over. Then I'm just going to continue that all the way around the top. Again, I'm pulling on my tape, trying to make it stretch a little bit. Lay it on the paper. Then notice, hopefully you can see that, the rebound effect makes it kind of go in. So that's helping your paper hug the top of your cup. Then, since my heat tape's pretty narrow, I'm going to follow up with some painter's tape. I'll pull it tight. Then I'll go ahead and fold that over, and since the painter's tape is longer, it's reaching the inside of the cup, and hopefully that'll hold it down really nicely. Okay, I'll do the bottom, then I'm going to go back around the top and really rub that down. So I'm going to use the same process on the bottom, stretching my tape, hoping for that rebound effect so that it automatically pulls my paper in. This tumbler is slightly curved at the bottom, and so hopefully this makes it tight enough against that curve that I don't have kind of a white cloudy area at the bottom. Okay, now that I have all that tape on, I'm really going to take some time to shove this down as hard as I can, both at the bottom and at the top. Then I'm just going to do two more things before I put it in. I'm going to go ahead and put a piece of painter's tape along the seam just to give it a little added security. And then the last thing I'm going to do is just put a piece of painter's tape around the middle of the cup. And when I'm doing this, I'm just pulling really tightly, just for added insurance. Okay, so the paper feels really nice and tight on my cup. So now I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 400 degrees. When I open the door of the oven, that temperature is going to fall. So you might feel like 400 is a little bit high, but again, that temperature is going to fall. So I'm going to start with 400. Now I have a little piece of silicone under this. I'm going to quickly open the door, move my thermometer over, and kind of put this in the middle. I'm going to do it for 3 minutes. I'll keep an eye on the temperature, And one of those little thermometers is pretty important, so you can make sure your temperature is where it needs to be. If it gets too high, I'll turn my oven down. Then after 3 minutes, I'll probably roll this over. Now, I'm going to pop in here. Notice how the temperature on that thermometer went down. When you open the door, you lose a lot of heat. Right now, we're at about 375. Hopefully, that'll go back up just a little bit. Okay, we're still down at 350. I'm going to go ahead and flip that once, try it for 3 more minutes, and we'll take a look at it. So I flipped that as fast as I could to minimize how much heat escapes. Okay, so it looks like I got back up to about 360. I'm going to go ahead and put this tile out so I can lay my cup on it. Boy, it's really hard for me to tell if that's a good job or not. I can see some coming through, so I think I'll let that cool off just for a few minutes so I can kind of work with it. I'll peel back one area to check the sublimation. If it looks good, I'll go ahead and unwrap it. If it looks like I need more time, I'll put it back in. Okay, this is still pretty hot, but I'm going to try to peek in there and see what I see. All right, I really can't see a lot, but I can see some red under there. So I'm going to go ahead and call that good. Take some more of that off, and I'll show you what it looks like. Now, I waited about 10 minutes, and this is cool enough for me to handle. So let's see what we have. Now I want to be sure I don't accidentally scrape my cup and then scratch my finish. Ooh, okay, that's looking good. So far, that's looking really good. Look at the top of that cup. There's no white. All right, the big reveal. Oh, that is so cute. Wow, that turned out nice. The first one that I did, this is just the second one I've ever done. The first one that I did turned out pretty nice, but I left it in for 8 minutes. That's what the instruction on the cup said to do. And I think I overcooked it because they say when you overcook something, they start fading. It didn't look perfect, but it looked acceptable. This one's even better. Okay, so this is just some tape. It's nothing wrong with the design or how it adhered to the cup. That is super cute. Now, I'm going to go wash off the tape remnants right there and there. Look at my seam. I think there's a little tape remnant there and there. That should wash off. So I'll go wash it off. I'll be right back. Okay, just like I suspected, this all washed off. And look at the bottom seam of that. You see a little glare as I turn it, but that's just a glare in the light. That did a really nice job at the bottom and the top. And look at that seam. There's no white showing through. Super cute. All right, I'm really excited about this. Can't wait to make some more. I appreciate you sticking it out to the end. Until my next video. Bye-bye.